still trying to figure it out. Renewed Vision said that it's not easy, so of course I take that as a challenge. But all that to say, so let's look at this single Jeopardy, the original round of that, because there are 3 rounds. And granted, I didn't make as many as there are in the regular Jeopardy, but I thought that I would, well, let me at least show you what we can do here. So I can uh, click here and then bring this up. Presented by Church Tech U, it's the ProPresenter Show. On today's show, how to make a Jeopardy game board. Hi, and welcome again to the ProPresenter Show. This is the show where, of course, I teach all about ProPresenter. My name's Paul Allen Clifford. And before we get started, if you've ever wanted to do something kind of out of the box, maybe different than what a lot of people think is possible, go ahead, tell me about it below. Maybe you'll give me an idea for another tutorial. And like and subscribe as well. Go ahead, share this with others that are interested if you might. So, with the advent of ProPresenter 17, there were a couple of new features that made me want to revisit the using the props layer for the game concept. I did that way back in the ProPresenter 6 days, and I taught my Church Tech U members how to do it from time to time, but I thought that I would just dive in and just see how far ahead we can go, how much I could do, etc., how much like Jeopardy I can make this. So let's head over to the computer and I'll show you what I figured out. So here we are in ProPresenter, and let me just bring up the Jeopardy theme, not Jeopardy. You see, trademark. So anyway, so I've made 3 of these, one for regular Jeopardy, one for double Jeopardy, and one for final Jeopardy. So that's the first thing. I've got these 3 presentations within this playlist. And by the way, while I'm thinking about it, hang around towards the end and I'll tell you how you can get as much of this as I can make it easy for you to get. Some of it's going to be a little more difficult. Still trying to figure it out. Renewed Vision said that it's not easy, so of course I take that as a challenge. But all that to say, so let's look at this single Jeopardy, the original round of that, because there are 3 rounds. And granted, I didn't make as many as there are in the regular Jeopardy, but I thought that I would, well, let me at least show you what we can do here. So I can click here and then bring this up. Notice how that it's building just like Jeopardy. And then I can talk about each category. We've got scribes and Pharisees, minor prophets, and then I could talk about that for a while if I want to. Won't automatically advance until I tell it to. And then church history, Bible drill. This has something to do with where stuff is located in the Bible, and translations. So that's the very first thing that I can do is just have that come up like that. Then next I would advance to this particular slide, which looks identical, but the reason that I have this is because this has all the animations, and every time I come back here, I don't want it to reanimate in. So that's why I have an identical one right here. So we've got that up on the screen, and one of the players says, yes, I will take Bible drill for 100. And then I can click on this and go, this is, by the way that it would, oops, need to fix the props here. So edit looks, and oh yeah, that's the problem. or yes. Do want that, don't want that. Save. And then going back to no props. Okay. That should be correct now. Yeah, so that's good. Okay, let me finish this and then I'll explain it to you. Okay, so now you can read the clue. This is the last book of the Pentateuch, the only part of the Old Testament the Sadducees believed was inspired. And the answer is, what is Deuteronomy? So that's what we have there. So what's going on? How? Oh yeah, and if I go back here, you'll notice that this is no longer available. So how did I do all that? Well, the first thing you should know is if we go here into props, let me hide myself, I have created 20 props, and I've named them column 1 or row 1, column 1, column 2, row 1. Yeah, so column 1, row 1, column 2, row 1, column 3, row 1, etc. Right? So that's there. You can see also that the one that we selected is here. So now if someone says, hey, give me minor profits for 100, then I can click on that, and now it also selects that. So that gives you an additional visual indicator. Part of what I wanted to show you since ProPresenter 17 came out is before it would have looked like this, and you didn't have collections here. So both of those are helpful, not 100% necessary, but helpful to the process. So that's one piece of the puzzle. It got me thinking, though. You'll notice when I go back here that I've got these two that are now covered up, because basically all this is a square that covers this up. Well, if I didn't do some stuff when I go to select another one, let's say this one, translations for 100, it would have these props covered up. So these three would be right there. So that's actually what we've got up here. So if I go into edit looks, what's happening is whenever I select one of these, it hides the props altogether by going to a no props theme where they're not showing. So I also have the announcement layer hidden because I'm using the announcement layer for my my screen there. I actually also need to hide the props in uh, both the no props theme. Here, let me make that live. Okay. And the default one um, as well. Because you can ignore this. This is just because I'm using this one for my vertical display here. But that's what's going on there. So now if we go back up here, you'll see that those three props are covering up that. So what happened there is we go back here to edit looks, and I have props enabled on these displays, but not enabled here. So that's also something that's going on there. See, so basically we're going back and forth between default and the no props theme. And so this is one thing that's going on there is we are showing the props on this one and we are not showing the props on any of these. We're not clearing them out, we're just hiding them using the looks right up here. So that's an important piece of the puzzle. Also, I'm using macros here, so if we go to the Jeopardy macro, you'll notice that I have a bunch of those. So basically I have a macro for each of these, that what that's doing. So the orange ones are the first row, the red ones are the second row, and you can see that jiving over here. Uh, Yellow, third row, green is fourth row. So basically, and I've renamed them based on what prop they call. So this calls the first prop, this calls the second prop, etc., to hide these things. So right now it's called the prop for here, the prop for here, and the prop for here. Now, granted, I could have just added an action directly for all of these, but this enables me to reuse it on double Jeopardy here. So, or double Jeopardy, as the case may be. So that's what those props are doing. These two are going back and forth between the two looks. So you'll notice that on each of these I have this blue macro, and that is all it is it's changing to the no props look. And you'll notice that I have this white one here, and this is going to the regular default look, the one that is selected currently, which shows the props. So that's what's going on there. So that's how I did all of those. Also, you'll notice down here we've got this little slider. I just basically slid it so that it matches the grid. I don't have to have it to where it's super easy to read. I could always go to this if I wanted to. This is easy view mode, and do it that way. Do you like these videos, but you'd really like to learn from me in person? Well, I've got some great news for you. I am traveling around the country and maybe even around the world training churches on how to use ProPresenter. So I've got a either a 1 or a 1.5 day class that you can attend. For more details, head on over to tdm.fyi/events24, the top one right here, and register for the event nearest you. If there is no event that's near you, no problem. You can request one. So head on over to tdm.fyi/class request. That's this one down here. And you can say, hey, I'm interested in attending a class, or even I'm interested in hosting a class. Up to you which you prefer. In the last one, that is just information. It's not obligation, so don't hesitate to put your information in there, and I'll let you know when there's a class in your area, or we'll talk about what it takes to host a class. It's probably a lot less than you imagine that it is. So head over there, and I look forward to meeting you in person. So let me show you the one that we have been working on right here. Easy view mode makes it a little bit easier to read here. So I could do that if I wanted to. I'm not gonna, because once this goes full screen, it's much easier to read. I just need to know, hey, comparing over here with what they ask, which one is in the grid, and then I just check from there. I could also use Companion, by the way, with a Stream Deck to have that on a page to trigger those automatically if I wanted to with corresponding buttons. I didn't go that far, but that is something that you can do. Now, if we go in here, one thing you should know is all of this is built inside of ProPresenter, so it's all editable. So if I right click and go to edit slide here, you'll notice that we have the regular one. This one is also the same way. These are actually just copies of one another. I made this one without any animation here, and then I copied it over here and added in the builds. So for this one, for this to work, basically I have, if we go all the way down here to the bottom, I have locked this so I can't accidentally move it. But if I click on the light, you'll see that with this eye crossed out, it hides the blue background with the outline around the box. So that's what that one does. And then the rest of these are likewise locked in place. And I have renamed them what they are. So this is the first horizontal line, the one there at the top, second horizontal line, third, and fourth. So you can tweak that if you need to. Just unclick the lock and then you can move it. So got that. Same thing for vertical lines. Here's the fourth one right there. And these aren't actually lines, or they're actually boxes, but it does do the exact same thing. I also renamed all of these categories for what category they are, and then these are renamed for how much they are. And all of that is text within ProPresenter. Now to do the animation, what I did was basically I went over and I have made a bunch of builds. So let me show you what those are doing. So this, I just kind of picked them out at random. This one right here is the first one, and it comes in after the slide 1 second later. Then the next one comes in, notice, started there, then went to here. So it's not actually random, it just is meant to feel random. So this one, and by the way, I did this initially on the double Jeopardy and then copied it over. When I did that, some of these names got messed up, but you can see that with this selected, this is after build 1, 1/10 of a second. And then this one is after build 2, 1/10 of a second. And later on I changed them to 0.3 seconds, so even the timing feels a little bit off. And then the last one is after the 19th build, which is this one, 1/3 of a second. So they basically, when I select this, these all come in automatically over a few seconds, just like on the TV show. And then this first one is on click. So it uses a transition I normally do not use whatsoever, the amoeba transition, which I thought was kind of similar to what they use on Jeopardy for that. And so we've got the amoeba transition for each of these, and they all go on click. So that's why you can talk about each of these categories for a second or two. It's not that they all come in one right after another. So that's what's going on there. So what I've got here, that's how that works. Now when we go on to double Jeopardy, I click on this to select it, and it, oops, I got impatient there. It builds in right there, and again, the same stuff, only I haven't populated this with any real information. It's just categories 1 through 5. So we've got that, and I've got a place for all the answers here. You could go in and quick edit each of those, or you could, probably what I would do is I would go into reflow and just type it in here, because you can type and then move on to the next one, so you can do that really quickly as well. So that's probably what I would do. Finally, so I didn't mention this macro right here. What it's doing is going down here. This is the last one I added. This is clearing all the props. So in case you had props earlier, in this case, going from here to here, you would have props. So we're going to clear them all. And even if you wanted to do another game, it clears them all up here so that you start fresh. And then same thing here for Final Jeopardy, which I've got set up a couple of different ways. So in my research, I looked and checked my memory of Jeopardy, which was, I haven't watched it in years. So it used to be the case that what would happen would be that Alex would stand by the big board and it would have the final category and then the final answer. And then he'd say, okay, guys, make your wagers based on this category. And then we'll go to a commercial break. And then after you're done, okay, this is your answer. And that's when it would play the da da da, that theme. So that would happen there. So that's kind of the classic way of doing it. You can also, if you had like a TV, like right here, you could set it up right there and maybe put this on, basically click up here and move that to the announcements layer. And then you could send that separately to a TV that is right by your host. It would probably not be vertical, it would be horizontal. And that's the more modern way that they do it, where they will display the category and then display the answer. So you've got a lot of flexibility here with this Jeopardy theme. And because of all that, I have decided to give you all my work, everything that I can. Now, I will tell you that the props and the macros are kind of hard to transfer. I checked with Renewed Vision just to make sure I wasn't missing something, and they said that, yeah, in fact, I was correct. So I'm working on something in the background to see if I can make it easier to transfer stuff, and if so, anyone that signs up for this, I'll let you do it. Basically, I'm going to give you the entire shebang and just let you make your own props and macros, but I will also include my props and macros in case you want to start from scratch. Just make a new login for ProPresenter and import it into those places. That's fine as well. So if that's something that interests you, go to tdm.fyi/Jeopardy. Give me your name and email address so that I can email you this. So that is how you would make Jeopardy inside of ProPresenter. Until next time, this is Paul Allen Clifford from TrinityDigitalMedia.com and ChurchTechU.com, reminding you to go out and change eternity.